Welcome back to the Smart Driving Cars podcast. We appreciate your taking the time with us once again. This edition is sponsored by the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF, symbol MOTO. For more information, head to motoetf.com. Technical support is provided by CARTS, the Corporation for Automated Road Transportation Safety, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to safe and high-quality mobility for all. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with the Faculty Chair of Autonomous Vehicle Engineering at Princeton University, Alain Kornhauser. Good morning, Alain.
Good morning, Fred.
Good morning, and it's almost mid-September already.
Oh, no, it can't be. Really?
Another successful SpaceX launch yesterday and landing. I think the 14th flight for that rocket.
Yeah. I mean, it's like whatever, Yes.
Gets to be routine, but it's not. So, and it's football season. We should mention that. You got a busy day ahead, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm a Stiller fan. We're going to get our butts kicked today, but whatever.
In the latest Smart Driving Cars newsletter, Aurora CEO Chris Urmson wrote a memo last month designed for the board, accidentally sent it to staff. It outlines a range of options, according to Bloomberg, from cutting costs to going private to a possible sale to Apple or Microsoft. You had some comments here.
Well, it's reality, I guess. Chris is one of the really good guys of this field, and it's been at this for a very long time. And as far as I could, I've always seen has approached it appropriately, but it's a real reality check for the industry, I think. And I guess the challenge is that the whole thing is still pre-revenue, and it looks like it's going to be pre-revenue for a little bit while longer. And so the question is how long can you hold your head above water? Being pre-revenue at some point that. At least the objective has been to have this be, in fact, a very highly profitable business, and it's sort of different from at least some of the transportation world, certainly the mass transit world, which is, basically out there going after government contracts and money from Washington. This has been a completely different expedition. It's been an expedition to really create viable corporate entities, which means customers that gladly pay for the products that are produced. And so here we are in, I don't know year what, if we start saying we started at DARPA, we're approaching year 20, and give or take, and we're still largely pre-revenue. Certainly on the driverless end, there certainly is revenue on the advanced driver assistance systems, and whether or not that revenue can be put in the balance sheet or has to be held until it actually works, which I guess is a situation that Tesla finds itself in with FSD. But for the others, for the system that I now, my second vehicle from Mercedes that has it in the Cadillacs, in some of the Fords, and some of the Hondas, and some of the Accords, and some of the, maybe 50% of the new cars in showrooms these days, in the Subarus, the eyesight systems and so on. Those things are in fact, the marketplace is responding, is buying them, and one can attribute revenue to those things. But in the driverless end, it's still pre-revenue. whether it be a driverless to move people or driverless to move packages or goods. And you know, this technology's been sold on safety largely, or at least I don't know if we did a survey of all the articles as to whether or not what was the biggest selling point that was promoted. I guess maybe it was safety, and we sort of already know that safety doesn't sell. So, but what does sell is affordability. Making something that is useful cheaper. And of course, that's one of the things that we've been pursuing here in New Jersey, really looking at providing mobility for people. In some sense, of course, it has to be safe, but that's not the big element. The big element is affordability. Affordability, because if you look at the mass transit industry, what is it? You know, the fare box recovery is, you know, less than 25%, way less than 25%. You know, and to have an opportunity, and why is that? Is just because it's very expensive to provide. It's much more than people want to pay. So what do when they look at the alternative of being provided mass transit? They say, well, no, I'll go buy a car, do it for myself. Forget you. That's a better solution for me. So, of course, we have a nation in which we have, you know, 4% of the person trips, the 1.1 billion person trips every day being provided by mass transit at fare box revenues of that are about 25% or whatever that number is. It's small. What it costs to provide it. And of course, the opportunity of driverless, which I guess is not as recognized as it maybe should be, is that my goodness, one might be able to provide that mobility for substantially less than what it costs. Because if you look at the cost of providing the revenue or providing the mobility in those systems, 75% of it is labor or more. Whether it's a taxi, limousine, Uber, Lyft, New Jersey Transit, you know, it's labor. And the opportunity is to provide this mobility without labor. That's the big opportunity. And if you can do that, then maybe, in fact, you can put it out there such that people will say, my goodness, I'm willing to pay for it. And when you take that money, revenue, the business of this thing, you find, oh my goodness, I can cover my costs and return something back to the investor. That has to be the focus. It doesn't seem to me that here, you know, we spend most of our time reporting on what other people write. It doesn't seem to me they're writing that. What they've been writing lately is, you know, GM Cruise is losing $5 million a day. Waymo, I mean, I don't know. I haven't really looked for it. I wouldn't want to find it. Their balance sheet. Oh my goodness. It must be. And the only reason I guess you would want to do that, it's not safety. It's to get to a point where the affordability is there such that you can do some return on the investment, which means you have to build a business to get to a revenue stream. So we look at these, and you look at GM Cruise, and you know, whatever it is, if GM Cruise losing $5 million a day, you know, Waymo, Zoox, Ford Argo. My goodness, you know, Chris must be looking at his balance sheet and looking out there and looking out, you know, when's the first dollar really come in here? and whoa.
They
So
certainly aren't alone.
they aren't alone, and they're all in that. And the question is who's going to carry it? And Chris is, that's one of the top operations.
Well, Mobileye is another company in this space, right?
And then Mobileye is another one, but at least Mobileye is also selling into the car industry for the advanced driver assistance systems.
And they also have Intel behind it. So
and they have Intel behind it, but at least they can show revenue. Well, they can show some revenue, and I guess GM can show some revenue, although their Super Cruise is really a different group than Cruise and so I don't know how they look at it on their own internal whatevers, but so at least Mobileye has at least some revenue coming in there, and so and also with respect to going driverless for Class 8 trucks, there are 275,000 of those things sold per year in the U.S., give or take. And that's the addressable market there. It's not the I guess the people trying to do it in cars, the 16 to 20 million cars sold per year that you're trying to get to, which at least I don't believe anybody is ever going to really get to it, sell driverless vehicles to people like me. I mean, I'll misuse that thing and I'll be shut down. And so, I'm too irresponsible to have that being sold to me. But you can stop short. You can do, advanced driver assistance and generate, revenue out of that and provide some real value. And I guess that's what we're seeing in the marketplace. People are buying it, whether they're using it or abusing it. We need to look, but to me, that's the fundamental business, business 101 of this thing.
On the subject of Mobileye, they've announced that they're starting testing of their level 4 solution in Detroit with over 50 Neo ES8s. It says the model will be the basis of the robo-taxi services it plans to roll out with partners in Germany and Israel in the coming months. That comes from Senior VP Johan Youngworth, JJ, I think he's called. He took part in the Princeton Smart Driving Car Summit this year.
Yes, JJ, bring them to Jersey. Hey, it's good. It's nice to see you doing it in Detroit. Real value proposition there in Detroit. Instead of calling it level 4, I think you should call it MOVES style mobility system, and bring it to Jersey. It looks like it's nice to see that you're doing that. In fact, again, the opportunity here is to provide mobility, is to get productivity out of each of these vehicles so that they're delivering 150 person trips a day. You put these vehicles to work doing that without labor, there is labor. There's labor back in the garage. There's labor in the overhead and the management and so on, and running the company. But all of a sudden, instead of doing 4% of the trips nationwide, you can do 10, 15, 20, out on the asymptote of this thing. That, hey, sure, let's do 100, but we won't even talk about total addressable person trips.
NVIDIA has a free virtual developer conference coming up September 19th through 22nd. It's focused on AI and the metaverse, and it looks like a really great lineup once again at NVIDIA.
Oh yeah, I mean this is a really good lineup, and you know, I did read it right. It is free, right?
Yes, it is.
Danny did tell us that it was free, right? And you know, so essentially, if you know, if you're into deep learning or any of that, I mean, you know, the people are going to be there, and so that's a really good lineup that they have. Plus, in terms of really trying to do this for not only advanced driver assistance systems, but going all the way to driverless, to a driver. You know, NVIDIA is putting it out there with people who are at least doing the technology stack of this things, the sensors, the processors, the algorithms, and the actuator part of this thing, and you know, it looks really good.
And we look forward to chatting with NVIDIA and Danny Shapiro about what takes place there. So stay tuned for that. Also coming up, Alan, the MIT Mobility Forum continues. It's online, open to all again, but you do need to register for this via Zoom.
Yeah, and of course, a really excellent lineup for the fall, and recommend it to everybody. And it starts off this Friday at noon Eastern, this coming Friday on the 16th at noon Eastern with Susan Handy, and they couldn't have a better person starting this off than Susan. So it's Susan. It's going to be great.
Don't go away. Stay tuned, but we'll be back after this reminder about our sponsor, the Smart ETFs, Smart Transportation and Technology ETF, symbol MOTO. To get more info, head to motoetf.com. On the website, look for the white paper. It's called the Smart Transportation Revolution. It's under the Insights and News tab. There's some great information there to help you make informed decisions about investing. ETFs, you probably know, can be a good way to spread risk with investments and focus on a particular category of stocks. The website, again, is motoetf.com. We are back with more of Smart Driving Cars, more from the latest newsletter. The Detroit Free Press reports GM's BrightDrop plans to offer self-driving electric commercial delivery vehicles in the future. When? A spokesman is quoted in this piece as saying the plans are not immediate, which I guess isn't a surprise right now.
What are you gonna, I mean, okay, yes, whatever. I mean, at least they admit that it's not, but it's, yeah, the question is, what's the focus? At least there are some folks out there focusing on doing it, as opposed to just using it as a, I don't know. Whatever.
GM's Cruise, which we've already mentioned, has recalled and updated the software in 80 self-driving vehicles. That is a result of a San Francisco crash in June that left a couple of people injured.
Yeah, and I guess that sort of tells us a little bit how many vehicles they have out there in San Francisco. 80, I guess, is what they're using. So it's some, and it's good, but it just goes to show, you know, what's involved here and what this is all about. When you find it doesn't quite do one thing, then and you trip over it, you go fix it. One's always trying to trip over these things and find them, but again, one does not know what one does not know. World would be easy if we knew what we didn't know. And you know, Mother Nature is out there throwing all these curveballs and sliders and change ups and who knows what at these things. And of course, you know, some of the other drivers are not necessarily cooperating. Not that they should be cooperating. Nobody's asking them to cooperate, and one would like to have them operate as they should. But as we know, the big challenge with respect to the driving is the misbehavior of drivers. That's what causes the crashes. That's what's involved. And if everybody behaved, then, you know, certainly the thing would be safe. So, you know, and I always ask the question, well, should driverless be better than a driver? Yeah, well, certainly better than a driver that's misbehaving. better than a driver that behaves? I don't know. I mean, that is really good. When I pay attention driving, I think I am really good. The problem is paying attention.
It is, you know, if you look around when you're driving down the highway.
Well, what am I supposed to do? I mean, come on, I'm not even being paid to do it. Oh, this is fun. I mean, come on, you know, Mad Men, you did convince me that it is fun. Yeah, but you know, after it gets old, oh, it gets old. Oh, I hate to admit it, it gets old.
Another interesting thing that we should maybe just to mention anyway, what recall means in this day and age of over-the-air updates.
Well,
recalling doesn't necessarily mean, we don't know what happened in this particular instance, I suppose, but if you say recalling a Tesla, that could mean just sending an over-the-air update, or many of these other
recall
vehicles.
means fix it.
Yeah.
That
Right.
means fix it. Now, in the past, you had to drag it to the dealer. Oh my goodness, there's something wrong with the fuel system in my car, and it's been recalled. And the dealer just told my wife, you know, a couple of days ago, well, we'll call you when we finally get to you. I mean, I guess it's not a real, but then you got to drag it to, you know, to the dealer. Oh my goodness, all this stuff. You know, it's not that a sensor was bad on the GM Cruise. It's not that an actuator was bad. It's not that a computer processor was bad. It's just that the software, you know, could use an update. And guess what? When these guys need an update, this thing reminds me, and I have to make sure I plug it in overnight so it gets done. So that is a really good position for us to be in, because this stuff can be fixed essentially overnight. So it's actually good when you have one of these things, because my goodness, you found something. It is fixable. Some people did get hurt, but wasn't, you know, for them, it's not the greatest thing in the world, of course. But it's not catastrophic, and it's fixable. And the beauty, you know, so many things in the past where, you know, when somebody tripped over something because it was going to be so monumental and trying to fix it, they tried to hide it. What was this business that GM had with respect to ignition, in which, you know, if you put some other keys on your ring, it would, like, you know, mess with the ignition switch. You know, some people suggested that GM tried to hide it. I didn't say that. You know, now, my goodness, thank you. We can find it. We have a whole data stream leading up to it. We can look at it. We can analyze it. We can whatever, and we'll write some more code and fix it. Boom, beautiful. Over the air update, bam. It's
faster,
like
cheaper.
Faster, cheaper, better, safer. Blah 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 blah. Let's go out. Let's use this. And every time we see something, you know, that can be fixed, let's fix it. And, you know, apparently this is what these guys do with this thing, or gals too, not just guys.
Absolutely. Uber announced this week it's partnering with Neuro to test food delivery in those little unmanned vehicles in some US locations. I guess this comes under the category of moving goods.
Oh yeah, it's moving goods. I'm not sure, you know, I guess Uber's looking to try to help out anybody, I guess. You know, the hard work on this thing is Neuro doing it. And Neuro needs to find the customers that will want it. Maybe, you know, Uber will find the customers for them and take their cut. And of course, from Uber's point of view, my goodness, here we have this platform out here. Again, we should be able to operate this thing with essentially no people. the labor cost is out of it. Anybody can use it, throw us a, little something, and it's nice revenue.
They seem to be focusing an awful lot on that Uber Eats business from even from last year's or this year, earlier this year, the Super Bowl ad. And they really are pushing it.
Yeah, well, I guess they do have some expenses in doing that, because they have to push that and they have to get people to realize that, my goodness, I want this stuff delivered to me. And then whatever anybody's willing to pay to have it delivered to me or to you, it's got to split it between the people that do the heavy lifting of getting it to you versus the people who, just have an app or something like that does it, really efficiently. So yeah, I hope it works out for Uber.
And Neuro is good for certain environments only, obviously. I mean,
well, I don't know about certain environments. I guess they want to do it everywhere and whatever. I just, it's sure. I guess it can be a business, and I imagine that with Uber doing it, they'll only do it for revenue, I imagine, and I hope Neuro will only move those things for revenue, and so there might be some revenue here.
Another story that caught your eye from Bloomberg: EV makers Lucid and Nikola plan for stock sales as time runs out on cash burn. It's kind of like what we started out talking about, isn't it?
Talk about, yeah. I mean, I was surprised they still exist, but maybe I guess I was relaxing this summer or something like that. And look, when's Nikola's revenue opportunity? I mean, if I look at what the market's been doing, which I try not to look at because it's a new market these days.
A roller coaster for sure. Some days you're really on the downside. So.
Oh man, I don't know. I just never mind. I buy high, sell low. It's matter. I'm used to it, so whatever.
Well, finally, Alan, something else to look forward to. Tesla is holding its second AI Day at the end of this month in Palo Alto. Are you ready to meet the Optimus humanoid robot?
No, because I think I think that's silly to work on that. But
well, why point that out? Because that's what the media is going to be focusing on more than likely. But if it's anything like last year, we'll be learning a lot about other kinds of progress here.
Absolutely. And I think, I guess I'm a person that's stuck in the mobility space, whether it be for people or for goods, but having something that I can just order around, or I don't use Alexa or any of those things. What I need, it's do this for me. I mean, get me coffee. I don't know. Not interested in having a humanoid sit there and serve me.
Well, on that note, we're gonna us humans, as opposed to humanoids, are gonna wrap things up. Thank you to our sponsor, the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF. The ticker symbol for the ETF is MOTO, and more info is available at motoetf.com. Technical support is provided by CARTS, the Corporation for Automated Road Transportation Safety, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to safe and high-quality mobility for all. You can find us, of course, at smartdrivingcar.com, on Anchor FM, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon, Apple, Google, wherever you turn to for podcasts. Those smart speakers that Alan doesn't have can play us too. You can find my tech reports at techstination.com. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with Alain Kornhauser. Thank you for listening or watching. Please continue to stay safe.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good week.